Hi, I'm Molly.
And I'm Jamie, and this is our From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast. As the owners of Hired Hand website software, we've been developing websites and creating internet marketing strategies for livestock breeders for the past 10 years.
The majority of our customers are involved in the breeding of registered animals, such as Texas Longhorns, Highland cattle, horses, and white-tailed deer, where the pedigrees are very important. The From the Pasture with Hired Hand podcast examines many of the differences in raising pedigreed livestock for maximum profit. Join us and learn what we're covering today.
Hi, everyone. Today I'm here with Curtis and Tonya Abel of Abel Longhorns in Paradise, Texas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Why don't you all start by just telling us a little bit about yourselves?
Okay, well, we both grew up in Florida, and we met at college at the University of Florida, so go Gators. We've been married 18 years. We have 2 kids. Cody is 13 and Dana-Lee is 11. And about 6 years ago, Curtis's job brought us to Texas, so we moved from Florida to Texas, and we ended up just kind of falling into Longhorns and began showing 5 years ago.
Nice. So when you were showing, or like how you mentioned your kids, are they involved at all?
Definitely. They're actually the reason we got started. My daughter really wanted to show a pig, and I thought pigs were disgusting animals. No offense to those that like pigs. But I just could not see her going through all that. I couldn't do it. And so I actually shared my concerns with a friend of mine named Rhonda Savio, and she actually said, "Hey, we raise Longhorns and we show them." And I said, "Really? You can show them?" And so that just started a whole thing. And we bought our first 2 from EJS Ranch, which is the Savios. And they are a huge part of what we do. They are the reason we got involved with Longhorns and continue to have them. They show them and do pretty much everything with them at this point. They're pretty self-sufficient.
So did they help you? Did they teach you the ways of halter breaking and kind of talk to you about the show circuit and all of those sorts of things?
Yes. So Curtis laughs.
I made Justin promise me that he would always be there for me and help out. In fact, when we first got started, we didn't even have a cattle trailer, and I was using Justin's extra cattle trailer to get us to shows. And they were Justin and Rhonda and
the kids,
and their kids,
and little Justin.
The kids all get along, their kids and our kids, and so it was definitely 2 families that came together to help each other out, and they helped us out way more than we helped them.
Definitely. Evie and Justin, their kids actually halter broke the 2 calves that we bought from them. The 2 calves were twins. Funny. They were a steer and a female, and those were our first 2 calves. They halter broke them for us, but then they would have the kids come over, our 2 kids, and they would walk them alongside and teach them what to do. And so it was kind of, it was learning as we go. And then they dropped them off, and basically they were there for every single question, and they still are. 5 years later, I still call Justin and say, "Hey, what about this? What do you do? What medicine do you use for this?" And so they've been a tremendous help for us as we got started and as we continue.
So what were your kids' reactions when they asked to show pigs and you showed up with a Longhorn?
Well, it actually was a whole line of conversation. So I just kind of, had already basically told my daughter no to a pig. And then when I told her, but, maybe Longhorns. And so at the time, it was actually the last year the Audubon was happening, which is a big kind of jackpot style show in Fort Worth. And it happened to be around that same time. So the Sabios invited us to attend that and just kind of see how they do things, right? Show how they have them tied up, what they do to feed them, what they do to, clean up. And so before the end of the day was done, my daughter and my son were, throwing hay to them and scooping the poop and doing all of the things. And they were just really eating it up. They loved it. And so then when I said to them, well, you could, these two little ones, like if you want, we could actually take them home and you could do this just like Evie and Justin are doing. And they were both really excited about it. So it ended up being the best thing that could have happened.
So do you feel like, so obviously the Savios, were responsible for getting you started, but do you feel like you were already gravitating towards Longhorns, or had you not thought of that option?
So I knew I wanted something at our house. We had already gotten ducks and chickens, and I actually wanted a mini horse. And Curtis said no. And so, no, actually, Longhorns were never on our radar. I didn't even know you could show them. And I just thought, I knew they existed, but I didn't think that they were anything but just something to look at that was pretty in your pasture and that they turned into beef eventually. So it was a totally new world. In fact, I tell people all the time, like my first time ever touching a cow was when I owned it. Like when I had already put it a deposit and agreed to buy these two little twin calves was the first time I ever even touched a cow. So it was a learning curve for sure.
So how many years now have you and your kids been going to shows and feel like you're a little bit more settled into that routine?
So we've been at it 5 years now. The kids really just jumped in. We all jumped in feet first. We went from, getting the calves to just a few weeks later, we were at the West Texas State Fair and just hit the ground running. And we showed in a ton of shows that year and continue to show in a bunch of shows. A few years ago, we made kind of a bit of a switch to doing more futurities. So that was a new world to explore, and that's been a really exciting world for us.
So do you have a finish, whether it be in a show or in a futurity, that you're really proud of? That was kind of like a big milestone for you and your kids?
Yeah, I would say, I think there were two last year that were just really exciting for us. When you say Horn Showcase, right?
Horn Showcase was
insane.
crazy.
Horn Showcase was insane.
So we did not have a whole, we have a small herd. And so when we get to go and compete at these futurities, sometimes we're taking the only 3 heifers that we feel are good, but we don't have a lot. And we took our bull and 3 heifers to the Horn Showcase, and we won all 4 of them won their class.
We won 4 buckles.
That's awesome.
So
Congratulations.
All won their futurity class. And then our bull won the triple bronze, and he won triple bronze and he won his futurity class. He won, what was the one?
He was the superior
bull. So it was insane.
And I always see the magazines of, the pictures of people winning the guns and winning those. And so that was really awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
That's a great story. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we followed that up only a few weeks later at Millennium, and we won a bronze, one of the bronzes for winning the class. And so it was just a bit of
and we got second place in the other one.
Yeah. So it's been quite an adventure. It's been lots of fun.
So were the kids with you at those 2 events?
They were.
So which one do they find more exciting? Do they get more excited about winning a ribbon in the show ring, or did they like the bronzes and the buckles?
I don't know. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know. They I think they get really excited about like when they win something big, right? I know my daughter loves money.
Don't we all?
She has a heifer. Yes, right? And so anytime we win cash, anytime she wins cash, that's her favorite thing to win. So she has a heifer right now that was actually donated to the winner of the TLBT Hall of Fame. So they do points contests throughout the year where they win so many points for showmanship. They get so many points every time their animal enters the ring, and it just adds up through the year. And not at this past year, but the year prior, she won first place in the junior division in Hall of Fame points. And the prize was that she got to go pick out a heifer from a ranch, and she ended up picking out a beautiful heifer named Quietly Famous, and she has taken her to a couple of futurities and actually won or placed in the money. And so that's her favorite thing, is when we come home or when she gets to walk up and accept that check. That is her favorite thing in the world.
Nice. Now, does that go, is she saving it for something special? Does she want to keep investing it in more animals, or saving it for college maybe?
So every time she wins money in the futurities, it goes straight into her college account. And that was actually her decision. I suggested it, and she said, yes, that's where I want it to go. So all her money's been going into her college savings.
That's nice. Yeah, it's too bad that the Autobahn kind of went away, because that was such a huge, catalyst for kids to be able to really grow their college funds quickly while still enjoying the animals. So it was sad to see that go.
I agree.
Yeah, I fully agree. That's actually one of the reasons why we started leaning towards futurities. Was the showing's fun, but showing's really expensive, and from the feed to the hauling to just all of that, and so entry fees, the hotels, and so not having the Autobahn to kind of help support all those scholarships essentially for the kids. We had to. That's why we really got into futurities, was to try to at least recoup some of the feed cost of
recoup our
of the show cost.
So now, are you getting into the Calcuttas as well, or have you not tested those waters yet?
Oh yeah. There's sometimes. There's some. Yeah, I do. And last year our heifers, because they were doing okay. Our heifers, it would cost me. I had a few friends, I guess you can say, that would run me up a little bit, but it's all right.
The best kind of friends, right?
That's right.
So now that you've been on this Longhorn journey for a while, tell us some of the biggest things that you've learned, and then let's talk a little bit about the goals, the future goals for your breeding program.
Well, I think one thing that I think really I would maybe suggest to new breeders that are just getting into it, something that we've learned is we've learned a lot of lessons, but probably the biggest one for me is that it's quality over quantity. So when I first started, first off, I didn't even know what I was looking at. If it was pretty, I put it in my pasture. And after a while, I realized, I have all these animals and they cost me a lot to feed and no one's winning. And so it just, we really had to be very selective about who we kept. And we had to make some really hard choices, because we got to the point where, we really love these animals and we take care of them. And so you grow a bond with them, and then to turn around and say, this one needs to find a new pasture, or even this one needs to become a steak. That's a hard decision to make. But it is one that had to happen. And I wish I would have maybe started off with more quality and less quantity, and really focused on growing my herd with just a few really select animals.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice I think we hear on these podcast interviews. So you're not the only one out there that kind of had to learn that lesson the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I'll say we were fortunate. We had a lot of people around us, and we listened. And so for the new people, listen to those around you. Tonya and I would listen to guys like Rodney Mahaffey, Chaparral Cattle Company. Rodney is huge on structure and body, and we would just listen to him and ask him questions. what he looks for in his cattle. And then, there's other people like, the Randolphs or the Savios. They have their own opinion on cattle, and you listen to them, and you do have to kind of make it your own, but take the advice and listen to those that have been here before.
Mm-hmm. So kind of keeping that in mind with what you've learned, if we looked 5 years into the future, how would your breeding program and kind of your goals look different?
So Curtis and I have really shifted our program, and with the kids' blessing, because we actually sat down and had a discussion with them on how important is it for you to win at a major show, to win, grand champion, versus if we took this animal and brought it to a futurity and it won its class. And both of our kids kind of surprised me in saying, we'd rather win the money. We want to see our animals win in the money world, in the futurity world, versus winning in the show ring at a major. And so that kind of shifted our focus from our original breeding plan to the direction we're heading now. We definitely want to add some more horn to our herd. We've had some excellent advances in that already, but we want to continue to advance our herd heading towards horn, but at the same time, not forgetting about structure and beefing ability, the ability to make a big animal, because we just really like really big animals and big beefy animals and animals with structure and horn and hide. And so kind of that whole package is really important. And the word I've been using recently is like boutique, right? So you go in a boutique, you're finding just a few very select things. It's not a large amount. It's just really beautiful individual pieces. And that's kind of what I would like to see our herd be, just where there isn't a bad, one that we could say can't go and win a futurity. That's my hope, at least.
All right. So you kind of opened the door here with saying everything that you like in your animals. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
So who is the favorite in your pasture?
In our pasture, so we have major disagreement about this.
Oh, well, you each have an answer then, for sure.
Yes. It's kind of funny. We definitely disagree on this, but my favorite is a cow named G&L Fashion Chic. I call her Chica. I just love her because she has these beautiful horns and this pretty hide with every color of the rainbow. It's just really a beautiful roan with brindle in it. And she's just a producer. She does not miss a beat. She has given us 2 gorgeous heifers, both of which have gone on to win in the show ring, win in the futurity ring, and just breeds back every time I try, every time. So she's my favorite. And Curtis?
So mine is a cow called Chaparral Sparkles. She was our very first cow, but she's huge. She's all red, I guess. I call her brown, but she's all red. And she got broken horn. I don't know. She's broke off 6 or 8 inches at least of her horn. But she rules the roost. She is the queen bee of the pasture. She's big bone. She gives us the biggest calf every year. In fact, one of our friends that was over during our calving season, because we're kind of going for shows, is January. And so one of our friends was over and we had the first heifer hit the ground and he's like, I want that one. I'm like, nope, sorry, we got to keep it. It's a black and white heifer. No. And so the next one was Sparkle's calf. And he's like, I got to have that one. And it was like, but it's Sparkle's first heifer, like ever. But we ended up, selling that heifer to him. And, but she produces really big calves
and structurally correct. And, she's just an all around really great producer. And
I laugh because every time we work her, we have to get her to duck her head in the PNC chute because she's just so big. We can get a couple clicks on the PNC But then she also has to duck her head if we want to put her in the horn locks because she's just that big of a cow.
She goes above the horn locks. So.
Well, I feel like you like her also. It sounds like there's a little bit of sentimentalness there as well. So
definitely. And, you can start really loving an animal due to personality. I mean, she, like he said, she is our queen bee. Where she goes, the herd follows. I have watched her. This is the craziest thing, but I have watched her break up a fight. I have watched two cows that were just younger and like, young and stupid, as they say, and just going head to head, having a little disagreement. And she just walked up and without saying anything, just lowered her head and they both broke apart and walked away. And I'm like, that's what you want. You want someone in your herd that's going to break up disagreements, keep the peace, keep everybody in line. And that's what she does. So
nice. So let's talk a little bit about other people's herds now. So again, you can each have different answers. I'm sure that you won't agree on everything. Let's talk about all-time favorite Longhorn cows.
So mine, and I fell in love with this girl a couple years ago, actually at the ITLA Championship show. This cow actually now is owned by Diamond B. It's Silent Iron. She's got every color of the rainbow, and pictures don't do that cow justice. And I would love to have a whole herd of that cow. She is awesome. I remember, we have big cows, and we actually had a couple of our big cows at the champ show that one year, and she walked in the ring and I was like, holy cow, like she is big. And so Diamond B's got an awesome cow in Silent Iron there, as far as I'm concerned.
What about you, Tonya?
For me, I've got a couple favorites. I like Iron On, which, is also a drag iron daughter. So, drag iron daughters, you can't really go wrong with them. I love Jam Packed. Really love Jam Packed. And Dunlucky Dice. Whew, what a cow she is. She's beautiful. I love Brindle. I love it when it's all spotted up and the horns, twisting out like that. Dunlucky Dice is pretty awesome.
What about all-time favorite Longhorn bulls?
So we were kind of wearing greens on this one. So I personally, to me, no one can beat Dropbox. Dropbox is pretty amazing. We actually bred my favorite cow, Chica, to Dropbox a couple years ago and ended up with a gorgeous heifer that's done really, really well for us called Drop the Fashion. And I'm planning on going back to that pairing again because I just really like what he can produce.
And I don't know if I really even have. I like every bull for different purposes, I guess. Right. So I really haven't had a favorite bull, I guess you can say.
Is there
just because I like 20 gauge for the heifers he produces, but I like Dropbox for what he produces. Pearl Snap is awesome. I can't say I have an exact favorite bull. Mm-hmm. I hate to say.
Are you all, we talked about kind of your 5-year plan or your future goals. Is there a bull that you're kind of thinking about introducing to your program to kind of take it, maybe your Dropbox calves, like where they're going to go after that?
Yeah. Right. Well, it's interesting you say that. Funny you ask, because we actually are in the process of kind of switching some things around. We had an issue with the bull that we had, and he had to go to the big pasture in the sky. And so we actually were kind of on the hunt for a senior bull. We have a Dropbox son that we purchased last year from Dickinson Ranch or from Dickinson Cattle Company. And he's really awesome. His name is Pressure Drop. Really cool color, great amount of horn, really doing all the right things, structurally amazing. But he's still a little young. So I called in some favors, and currently I have, right now in our pasture, we have Pearl Snap BCB. So shout out to Matt Bourbon for allowing us to borrow him. He's with us through Horn Showcase, and then he will return back home. And then after he returns and, we have a little bit of wait time, we are going to be bringing in, we actually arranged to get Backfired Love from the Metcalfs, and he's going to be joining us for the year. So he's going to be our main senior bull for the following breeding season.
Okay. So you mentioned a few names that you hadn't said yet, Matt Bourbon and the Metcalfs. So let's kind of talk about breeders now. Do you each have an overall favorite breeder that you admire or kind of aspire to be like?
We actually were in a semi-agreement on this one. We both kind of said that we really admire the program that Lonesome Pines has built, the Randolphs. We just really are impressed with their program. We've purchased from them. My daughter was able to get a steer calf from them as a donation through the CTTLA, the local affiliate here. And so everything they have is just a knockout. They make gorgeous animals, and they always seem to be on the cutting edge of what's happening in the futurity world. So we just really admire them in their program.
Have you ever been out to their place?
We have a couple of times. It usually involves making a purchase and costing us a lot of money. They have a gorgeous property. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to say something.
Oh, yeah. Well, when we went to get into the futurity circuit, John and Christy were some of the first ones we asked because they had show animals, and we knew they did really well in the futurity world. And John was the first one to flat out just say, I want to bring your animals. And that was before we really made the switch to, I hate to say futurity style, but what you show on halter in a show ring, unfortunately, is not the same as what happens in the futurity ring. And John was flat out honest with us of, I want to bring any of your stuff. Don't waste your money. And so that's really when we started making the search. And ironically, we were out at his place, or Christy's place too, I guess. And I'm going
to be honest. It's more Christy's than John's. Let's be real here.
But we were out. We were actually Misty was out there. One of our cows was out there.
What happened is we bought a cow called Misty Kettle from them at a sale. We bought them actually during quarantine at the Blue Ridge sale. We had bought Misty Kettle, and after she calved and gave us a really beautiful pearl snap heifer, we wanted to go back to that same pairing. And so he said, you know what, we'll arrange something, bring Misty down. She can breed to him again. And, which was very, very wonderful of them to offer that to us. And so we came down to pick up Misty. This was our second visit. We came to pick her up. And while she was there, I said, we're kind of in the market for a new show steer for Dana Lee. She really wanted a new show steer. And so we were looking around at their bull calves, and I'm in their bull pasture, and I look over, and way the heck on the other side of the pasture, I say, who's that? And it was their yearling heifer pasture. And I said, who's that? And he said, I don't know where you're pointing. There's like 10 animals there. He said, let me drive over there. And we drove over, and I kept going, there, right. She's right there. Go over there. And it was a heifer named Benny's Pearl. And long story short, basically I was in love, and I would not leave without her. And
at that time, she wasn't even on John's sale page. And we kind of discussed, and John's kind of like, I don't know about that one. And you could just tell John was like, no. And so he said, John and Christy are always super friendly. So we go to lunch, and I kind of looked, and John was looking on his phone, and Benny wasn't even on the sale page, wasn't anywhere. And we got back, and Dylan was there, and he's like, John was, well, they want to buy Benny, and Dylan wasn't too happy. And so they threw a price out, and I think Tonya drugged me around the corner.
I did. We were on their porch, and Curtis was making a face like he was in pain. And I said, come with me. And I took him around the corner, and I basically said, this is the direction we've been talking about, this massive shift. We need to make this big shift in our program. And I said, she's it. She is it. And I think he would say that was a good decision.
It was. Sure. And I think that's where Tonya said earlier about quality over quantity. And she was definitely, and is definitely, the most expensive animal on our property, but also she wins everywhere she goes. And I think she's won 14 futurity classes.
Many.
I mean, just everywhere she goes, she wins. She wins in the show ring. She wins in the futurity ring. And
so that one's hurting John a little bit then.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a lot of times that, Dylan will walk up to get his second place check, and he's just shooting me a look.
Yeah. In a good way. We always had fun.
I think it's been fun. It's been fun because I know personally that when I sell an animal, I love to see people go and be successful with that animal. And so I think it's been kind of I don't know, I can't speak for them, but I would think that it's also kind of fun to see that heifer was how we really started into the futurity world. Just with her, we totally turned our program and started really looking at our herd and saying, what do we have in our herd that looks like her or is similar to her? And then, we lucked out that we had a couple calves hit the ground that fit the bill.
And we did promise. I mean, John had made us promise that we would take her to futurities, because that was one of the things. John's like, she's going to win you a futurity. You're going to win a lot of guns with her. He was adamant, and he was right.
So reading through the lines here, he's the one buying the Calcutta in that class then, right?
Sometimes. That's one of the friends Curtis was talking about it.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit here. So I grew up showing, and so just with that experience, I know that you're going to have a really good answer to this next question. So you have to have some funny stories, either between showing or the kids or, just your experiences. Go ahead and share some of those with us.
So we've got a few. The one that it was hard to think of them because, I can think of a million times that we had great laughs and, funny situations, kind of crazy situations that occurred. But there was one more recent one that just had me in total stitches. We actually, a friend of mine is a local artist, and she was commissioned to do a mural on the side of downtown Bridgeport, on the side of a building in downtown Bridgeport. And she wanted to use Longhorns because it's along the Chisholm Trail. And she wanted to have the scene of a cowboy on horseback driving this herd down through the Trinity River and up back out. And so she said, what I need pictures of Longhorns coming down a hill. And so she asked, can I come out to your ranch and take some pictures? And I said, of course, come on out. And so we have this hill in the front, and in that pasture, we have a very always hungry steer named Iron Zion, Circle M Iron Zion, which is Dainalee's show steer. And he literally is never full. You could put 10 bowls of food in front of him. He's never full. And he's very food driven. And so we have him and another cow that happened to be up there while she was weaning her calf named EJS Celine. And so Curtis says, here's what I want you to do, Karen. You go to the bottom of the hill and, you crouch down with your camera, and I'm going to get a bucket of feed, and I'm going to come down the hill, and I'm going to drop it near you, and then they're going to kind of come down to get the feed. Right? Well, I opened that gate and he takes off running with this speed. And this steer is full bore heading towards this feed bucket. He hasn't been fed in a century when he just got fed earlier that day. But it was hilarious because I just was standing at the gate yelling run, Curtis, run.
Hey, she got the shot.
She did. She got a really good shot of him. So
of the steer,
of the steer, yeah. Well, she got a couple of you too, but
that's a pretty good one. Do you have any others, Curtis?
One of our very first shows, because I was borrowing Justin Savio's trailer. We were leaving a show. It was probably one of the first shows, and it's always fun pulling Longhorns down the highway. And so I had this bumper pull trailer that had open slats, and we had one of Justin's really big horn cows in the front. And I remember driving down I-20, and all of a sudden cars they would start to pass me, and then they would slow down and just look. And I literally I had people taking pictures as I'm driving down the road. I always get a kick out of that.
Now your back trailer gate wasn't open, right? It was just the horn sticking out of the side.
Yeah, they're all taking pictures.
Love what you're hearing? Be sure to check out our Pickup Truck Confessions. It's a video series where we hop in the truck or rental car and interview a variety of breeders about what drives their passion for their livestock, how they got started in the breed of their choice, marketing tips, and more. And now, back to the podcast.
All right. Well, I feel like we've learned a lot about your breeding program and your history. So how about if we talk websites for a little bit? Are you both good with that?
Sure.
Okay. So if we had to put you on the spot here with each other, what do you think the average time that you spend a week looking at Longhorn websites is?
I think it really depends on the week. So as we were kind of talking about this, we were thinking, it really depends on the week, because some weeks I may just look occasionally at this website or that website. And then sometimes I am just 100% focused on trying to find something. Usually I'm researching bulls, and I'm trying to figure out which bull would pair best with this cow for AI purposes. And so I'm going to spend like a ton of time checking out different breeder websites, going on Arrowhead, just trying to find the bull that would work perfectly, looking at the progeny. I mean, I'll go back to generations, and I'll look at his progeny, I'll look at his whole family tree, and look at everything in his pedigree, click on that, I'll end up at a totally different website. I go down rabbit holes sometimes.
I do too, and it's just like Tonya said. I mean, when we're being very selective on what bulls we use or AI to, and it's not just a name brand, we're looking at what did that bull do? And we're looking at the cows that breeder bred that bull to, and what did it produce? And how did it change the horn direction? How did it change the color? Did it maintain the structure, or did you lose something? So when it comes, that I'll tell you, that March time frame for us, because that's starting to be our busy season for breeding, or even prior to that,
breedings, right?
In February, it's hours a week looking, just chasing those rabbit holes, as Tonya says. But then throughout the year, as different cows come open, based on their breeding cycles, we're constantly looking back and looking for the next bull to AI to, or if there's a show coming up for futurity or even a sale, we're kind of scoping everything out.
So do you have a favorite or a couple favorite hired hand powered websites that you feel like you end up back on or go to kind of start that process?
We've got a few. We kind of bounce around so much, and it really just depends on the what exactly we're looking for. So I spend a lot of time on Arrowhead. I spend a lot of time looking at like the future money earners list. I'll look at that occasionally, see, where everybody's standing with that. It was we looked at it a lot last year when we were actually in the running. This year we're like, we're down quite a ways. Don't need to really look at it so much this year. When we were building our website, I looked at so many hired hand websites to try to figure out, how did we want to design ours? So I don't think there's a specific one that we spend a lot of time on, just a bunch of little ones.
Well, even just recently when we were making the decision with Backfired Love, we were scouring Longhorn Ventures, the Metcalf's website, looking at what they bred the bull to, and looking at the calves on the ground, and kind of getting a heads up so that when we went out there, we could say, oh yeah, that was that calf and that was that cow, and stuff. So, and we'll do the same thing if, whenever we go down to Lonesome Pines, we're scoping out that website.
I've spent a lot of time on Lonesome Pines website in the past, for sure.
Well, now you know too, he has that secret pasture, the ones that aren't even on there, right? So
that's right.
So if I had to ask you the last 3 Longhorns in your search history, would you be able to guess each other's? Would they be the same?
Oh, last 3.
Last 3. Well, definitely Backfired Love. Because, we've been doing a lot of research on him before we decided to choose to go into the relationship that we have with the Metcalfs for the following year. We spent a lot of time looking at him. So he's definitely right now number 1 in our search history. Gosh, it just bounces around. I do spend quite a bit of time just kind of comparing. I spend a lot of time looking. I'll start on Arrowhead and it'll bounce me over somewhere else. Sometimes we'll go to a futurity, and I saw a particular heifer in the ring that I just really liked, and I wanted to know what her breeding was. Who was her sire? Who was her dam? Is it something that I could get close to? Maybe the sire has semen that I can purchase. So I'll find myself on a different website, looking at that progeny, and just kind of seeing if that's something that is this a one time he hit really great, or is it all of his calves look this way? What is he doing that could be beneficial for our program? So
So how long has your own Hired Hand website been live?
It's actually been just about 2 years, just over 2 years. So August of 2021 was when when it went live.
And have you noticed any sort of a kind of a evolution with it as you have with your herd? Are there things that you started with that you don't use or have anymore? Are there things that you added, throughout your Longhorn journey?
Well, I think we have the same tabs, the same basic structure of the website. I actually was just looking the other day and thinking, gosh, I got to get a different picture, because the main header picture, I actually don't even own a couple of those animals anymore. I've sold them since then. And so, but it's my biggest problem, and something that I kind of have set as a goal for myself in the next year, is to work on my photography skills, because it's really hard to get out there and get some good pictures of the animals when all you have is an iPhone, right? So on my Christmas wish list is to get a good camera and to learn how to use it. And so I'm hoping to continue to develop our website into something that is more visually appealing, especially with the photographs. But yeah, the tabs have remained the same, and we actually use our website a lot. We'll actually reference it because we put everything on there. So we put measurements on there. So I'll have somebody at a show ask me, what's her tip to tip? That's a lot of tip to tip. What's she at right now? And I don't always have that in my brain right away. And so I'll look on our website and I'll say, oh, she is, 67 and a quarter or whatever it is. So I use that a lot. I'll reference the awards from there. If I can't remember, did she win last year? What did she do last year at the same event? I'll look it up on our website. So
do you both make updates to it, or are you primarily in charge of those, Tonya?
I'm not allowed, so I don't even have the password.
He actually doesn't. I do. He is like, I say like the grunt work, right? So he's the one with the keys to the skid steer, and he can, put out hay, and he can do all the things. Most of the cows aren't very happy with him most of the time, because he's the one that gives the vaccinations and does all the, all the not so fun stuff. And then I'm in charge of like the pretty things, updating the website and our Facebook page and things like that. So I do all of it, but he does give me input. Like he'll say, hey, this picture's really out of date. You need to get a new picture of this animal. Or, hey, I noticed you don't have our winnings, how they placed at this futurity on there yet. So he helps keep me in line.
So you mentioned Facebook a second ago. Is that kind of your go-to social for promoting your breeding program?
100%. I'm a little old school. Curtis doesn't even have a Facebook anymore.
My Facebook got
Unfortunately,
hacked,
he's got hacked. So if you are friends with Curtis on Facebook, he is now known as Owen Baxter.
That's not me.
And it's not him. And he has no access to it. So unfortunately, Curtis has no socials. I have all of them, but I spend the majority of my time on Facebook. And we have a Facebook page, Abel Longhorns, Facebook page. And it's just, honestly, it's just me and my silliness.
It's funny because we go to a show and I don't care if I'm in Idaho or Ohio or Colorado. It's crazy because like people come up and go, "Oh, you're Abel Longhorns. Oh wow, we follow you." And it's crazy how many people follow the page. And we have a lot of people that are not in the cattle business, but they know me from work or they just know me from Boy Scouts or something, and they like our page just because Tonya posts funny stuff on it. And
yeah, like my most recent post, he was out just kind of checking cows midday today. And
no, I had a visitor knock on my window.
Is that how it happened? Well, so this little calf got out of his pasture. He knows how to basically Superman jump through the hot wire. And he got out and he came and apparently knocked on Curtis's window. And he had a bucket on his head. It was stuck on his head. He didn't have a bucket?
At that point, but he found the feed bucket.
Yeah. So then he found a random bucket. And so he was walking around with a bucket on his head out of his pasture. And so, he sent me this picture. And then, of course, it became a Facebook post of, for sale, one naughty steer.
And was it one of the kids? Because if they saw that, they might not be happy you're trying to sell their animal, right?
Well, actually, he's not really for sale because I think he's going to make a really good show steer for one of the kids. And Dana Lee's already put dibs on him because he is the son of the cow that she has shown has been her showmanship cow and fashion, as she calls her. And so she's already put dibs on him.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you both taking the time to join us today. I feel like we covered a lot of ground, definitely got to look more in depth into your program. Before we sign off, is there anything else that you would like to add that we didn't cover?
I think we pretty much covered it.
I think so.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Of course. And we'll link your website address and some of the breeders you mentioned. We'll be sure to link to them all in the show notes there so that the listeners can go and check out their programs as well.
Great.
Thank you both.
All right. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you. Have a great day.